Alright, how's it going? I haven't done one of these in a while, but I have an EP out. It's been out for 2 months now, and it feels great. And quite a lot of people like the last couple of these I did for my old singles, and I thought, you know, I'd do the whole EP as well, because I spent a lot of time on it, and there may be some things in there that people find useful as well. So, the first track is Distracted, track number 1. Started off as a baritone demo months, maybe even years ago technically, and I'll try and find a video of it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to sort of play about in this low drop F sharp tuning. When you drop the low B down to an F sharp, you have that cool even lower pseudo bass thing going on. And yeah, I wrote a track around it. It started out as a poppy sounding track and stayed that way really, but with a few other extra proggy metal slap bass inspired things in it. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking and we will crack on. So starts off with this sort of synth intro. That is made up of a couple of pads, and then in come some leads, which will be these down here. These came quite late on in the process of making it, and as soon as I've called it Moogish, well, Moogish, because it's sort of trying to emulate that cool Moog thing with a massive pitch bend on it on the pitch wheel, and I didn't play any of it, and it was all, you know, programmed, but you can get fun with the automation of the pitch wheel and get that sort of unnecessarily wide vibrato. And then doubled up with the old piano octaves. And oh yeah, this 80s sounding thing, which I'll solo as well. And the weird thing about this intro is that it's all sort of pushed around where the bar is. So when you solo it, it sounds out of time, but like in the context of a click, and other fun things that I've found in music making when creating this EP was like sparkly layers, and these two are sort of like the glitter of the mix, which sounds really funny, but that is a combination of well, sparkly, which I think is just some sort of percussion sample, and then this, which is part of the retro synth, yeah, the Logic retro synth. I've frozen everything incidentally just because my MacBook can't handle, what are we on, 56 tracks, as sad as that is. I'm recording my screen and everything, but if people want to see the presets of these, they're all in the rest of the tracks, so just let me know. For now, I'll just show you, you know, how the sounds work. So the retro harp, I've called it because it's sort of like how a harp would do arpeggios, and then just put a load of delay on it, and reverb, and it sort of sounds like this. So all of those together. Oh, actually, before we do that, this is like a pedal. So for those of you who have studied music, you'll know that a pedal, sorry, that sounded really pretentious. For those of you who have ever done music in academic places, you'll know a pedal is a sort of, it's a musical device that has just a standard note underneath everything where things shift on top. That's probably the worst way of describing it. But essentially, I've got an F sharp pedal underneath all this. But on top of that, the chords change. So if I do these, where's the other one? That one. And yeah, so that's the intro really. Okay, moving on to the verse. So the verse was a lot of fun because it was completely different to the intro. So everything needed to be super dry in this, and everything sounds quite, you know, wet and reverby and stuff in the intro. But I wanted to literally just automate everything off. So when it, you know, comes in, really dry and like, you know, really like airtight. What else comes in here? So we really come in with some rhythm guitars, which did come in the intro technically, but they sounded like this. And again, those rhythms are a combination of electric and acoustic, doing the same part, I'm pretty sure. And the electric is the Chapman MO1 on position 2, so bridge and middle, and then the acoustic's just my Taylor 114. And then coming into the verse, like digs in a bit more. What I also bring in is the baritone chugs. Okay, no, I don't. I've automated those out. I think they come in the chorus. Yeah, okay, so we'll wait for them. Okay, but the next thing I need to talk about really is the bass that comes in. So for the whole EP, and this was a massive pain in the arse, I doubled the bass, meaning I recorded the bass and wrote it like a bass, but then I doubled it in MIDI form with this synth version, which took a long time to get all the notes in, and I wish I wrote simpler parts, but it just sounded a lot better. So yeah, the organic bass, the played in bass, sounds like this. Then bringing in the synth bass. So yeah, if you're listening with headphones, you'll hear like the synth bass just gives this wideness, and I think an actual like lower fundamental as well. I EQ'd it in a way so that the synth bass was doing like the super low stuff, because it's a bit more even down there, and then the like organic bass was doing like the low to low mids and not the very, very low stuff, and also the high sort of clicky stuff, and that seemed to work the best. I think I tried to EQ them other ways, but yeah, really the synth bass is just to fill in all the gaps and to make everything a bit more consistent. So what else? Oh, a big one, a big one is the percussion. So in the last two tracks, and again, like I'm kind of glad I looked at the other two tracks before, because there's so many new things that I've learned and put into like a workflow of making a track that I wouldn't have before, and one of them being like adding percussion layers like cowbells and bottles and stuff. And there was the ander and a tambourine layers, but these two were a lot of fun. And I was listening to a lot of like pop, and pop music's great for like just really subtle layers that they sort of not elbow in because it sounds like they're forced, but like they just find a way into a mix that makes everything a lot better and seem a lot more hi-fi, and there's no real like dead space in pop music. It's all sort of thought out, which I quite like. And to get to the point, cowbells and bottles and these sort of really human sounding percussion layers go a long way, I think, especially when like looking at this, most of it is programmed information. All the blue is, you know, audio and stuff. Okay, so looking at these percussion layers then, so if I solo this region of drums, I'll play it like, I don't know, a bar of it, maybe 2 bars without the percussion, then I'll bring it in and you'll hear that it just sort of fills out this other rhythmic accented layer of stuff that wasn't there before, and it gives it a bit more bounce. So yeah, moving on to the chorus, technically, even though it's all instrumental music. I guess I'm calling it the chorus because of the hook. But yeah, the pan flute comes in. So one of the big things of this EP is the amount of pan flute on it. And I just love the sound of a pan flute. And I think this is the same one that is in Bieber's What Do You Mean? It's a synth called Nexus 3. Yeah, the pan flute is just this really cool other sound that's not guitar, that has this pop connotation, and it's also got a really like sharp attack. So it layers really well with guitar, because guitars, you know, typically have quite a sharp attack to them. So with percussive parts like this, it just worked really well, and I'll, you know, boost it a bit so you can hear it. But sort of wish I had it that loud. I love it so much. So that's the chorus. What else comes in? Arpeggio keys, which is literally just an electric piano doing a 4-note thing. And again, I could have made life easier for myself and just whack the arpeggiator sequencer thing on it. But there are some parts where it wouldn't work when chords are pushed and that, so I essentially put every note in once at a time. I made sure that they all lined up with chords, which was again a bit of a farce, but I wanted to get it right. And then verse 2, pretty much same thing, with a few like chopsy bits. And yeah, so after that we then come into this slap section, which I think is one of my favourite sections of the EP actually, but I'll play it in from the sort of second half of the verse. Oh, and incidentally, in the second half of the verse I bring in those percussion layers to add a bit of something else in the second half. So that is a lot of fun, and it's something I've tried to get better at in guitar, let alone just make music, but like in guitar, trying to incorporate hybrid picking and slap, and thinking about the guitar more like a bass and like a percussive instrument as opposed to like a melodic one. And again, that sort of has some melodic form to it, it's following the chord sequence, but I wanted something percussive there, and baritones especially, like with the thicker string gauges, it owes itself to that, because it's, you know, it's halfway between a bass and a guitar. So if I solo that, which is this one, okay, the next bit, which is just me ripping off Corey Wong, really, because just double stopping, you know, pentatonic phrases, and other people do it, but like Corey Wong's the guy I got it off. And that is split between two leads, so we've got one doing the double stops and then one doing the sort of slightly more distorted phrases in between. Actually, same amount again, just sounded better with two, I guess. Only just intonated there, but again, like when you're in drop F sharp, and I wasn't even using a baritone set of string gauges, I was using I think like 12s or something idiotic, but yeah, I sort of like the pitch wobble when you tune down that low. It's kind of all part of playing down there. So yeah, then we come into like the sort of retelling of the intro. Don't really know what to call that, but the intro that isn't the intro. And again, like that low F sharp pedal, which came from the lead guitar, lingers throughout the whole thing. Now into essentially what is a verse, but I wanted it to feel like a sort of chorus verse hybrid thing. So comes in with this really poppy top line, which was doubled by this Moog layer, Moog. As well as, I can't believe I haven't talked about this yet, the Wow guitar, which is the Neural Corey Wong plugin with the auto wah. So which is like super Daft Punky when you get a bit of drive on it, and that's just a really nice like layer to have underneath lead layers that are also on guitar. And it sort of has this inverse effect of this pop vocal trick. So in pop tracks, usually they'd put a vocal through a guitar amp and tuck it underneath the main vocal layer. But weirdly, if you do the same thing in reverse, so with guitars, put a guitar through an auto wah, which essentially sounds like a mouth, to make it sound more human, and tuck it underneath, it has this same sort of effect of blending them together. Even though they're the opposite instruments doing the opposite things, it still sort of sounds, it has that similar effect. And I've done that all over the place on this EP, just to give it something else. Instead of just double tracking it, give it this other layer of interest. Into chorus 3, which is pretty much the same thing, up until this second bit, which is again literally a repeat of the chords, but the chorus ends on a D major 7, major 9, but then the chorus also starts on a D major 7 or major 9, whichever way you want to look at it. But I was like, okay, well, how do I make it seem like another chorus if it's just the same chord? Because it felt like an opportunity to do something cool musically, and I was like, right, what cool turnaroundy things can I put in here? And I remember thinking and just going down a rabbit hole with it. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Maybe I should just linger on that D chord. But I essentially came up with this, which is really, it's just a 2-5-1. I'm bigging it up, but it's just a 2-5-1 that goes from like D major 9, C sharp minor, add 9, to E minor 7, A7 to D. But it's sort of, the chords are pushed and not landing on the main beat. So if I play it, you'll get the effect of that. And another thing that comes in this chorus repeat is the antacid percussion layer, which I think I've got a video of this, but I was on antacids over like November, December, and I can remember taking one out of the like wrapping, having it in my hand, and I heard it shake, and it sounds like a tiny little egg shaker. I can remember like putting it up to the mic, shaking it, like maxing the gain on my little interface to get this percussion sound out, and it sounds like great. It's not bad at all. So I thought, why not add it in? And it does add some in. If I solo all these, you'll hear it come in and just sort of add some sizzle on top. It works like a charm. Yeah, that's the antacid percussion. It's only in this track. I couldn't be bothered to record it for all 6 tracks. And yeah, so this is like really supposed to be an ad-libbed version of the chorus melody that's doubled and tripled, maybe even quadrupled in lead layers. Yeah, so we've got all those down there, the pan flute, the guitars as well, all doing this. And yeah, so now we get to like the fun bit at the end of this track, which is the slappy dappy baritone open F sharp string thing. And when you're in drop F sharp, it'd be rude not to do some sort of like slap thing down there. So yeah. So I've maxed that antacid. I need to chill it out. that bit's fun. I just thought, why not add little block? And then we come into like the third version of the intro. So came in at the start, came in this like middle bit, and now at the outro, it's the intro chords, but with this groove and percussive quality of the slap part. As well as that like lead melody on top. So there's a lot going on, but again, it's the end of the track. You can sort of afford to have all the ideas meld into one. And on that note, actually, I should shout out Seb Reed, my mate, who I sent this track to before it was finished, and the ending was completely different. It essentially just like followed through this this chord sequence and then just ended on the one. But Seb was like, no, you need that. Well, he didn't say you need that, but he was polite about it. He said like, oh no, you need that hook from the end of the chorus, which was the this one. And I was like, oh man, yeah, you're so right. But I was really annoyed because that was a lot of work. But I eventually like took out, I don't know, the last 2 bars and plastered it together with what was that hook. And it just tied the whole track together really, and it tied it up in a nice little bow. So Seb, that was a pain in the arse, mate, but thank you very much. It really does work. Yeah, ended on the 4. And I found like, I think it's 4 out of 6 tracks of this EP. Maybe I've got that wrong. End on the 4 chord. Don't know why, but it just feels right. That's pretty much this track. Standard things like vocal pads. And there's a fun one here where we've got some like tension and release going on over the solo. Do you hear that? In broad daylight, jump cut there. So that's really it for track 1, Distracted. But I may have missed some stuff. If you guys want to go over anything specific, definitely let me know, because you know, if I can help anyone with making their own music, then that would be amazing. That would be really cool. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but yeah, that was fun. We'll go through all 6 eventually, and it'll be fun to look back on them. And they're relatively fresh in my mind, so yeah, I don't know. It just feels great to have it out there now. But yeah, I hope everyone's enjoying it, and thank you to everyone who said kind words about it, because that's been really cool as well. So yeah, I'll leave it there. See you in a bit.